we will apply KCL at any particular node. So what is KCL? KCL is stating that the sum of the currents entering or leaving a node will be equal to 0. This is the KCL law, right? So we will individually take all the non-reference nodes. So let us say we are considering this particular node, node 1. Okay, we are first considering this node 1, this one. So here you will have one current flowing through this and one current flowing through this, and you have already a branch current in this direction that is equal to I2. Okay, so you see you are having three currents here. Similarly, you are also having three currents in this V2 particular node. So what we will do, we will individually calculate the currents and sum it, and we will do that. Then sum of the leaving current will be equal to the entering current. Is this okay? See, at this particular node, this I1 is entering the node, I2, I1, and this capital I2, all these three are leaving the node. So when we are applying KCL at node 1, right? So what will be the currents? One is the capital I1 that is entering, and this will be equal to the leaving current capital I2, small I2, which is as V2 by capital R2, small I1, which is V1 minus 0 by R1. So we are applying KCL and we are getting the equation like this. See, we have got the individual, you have got the individual values of small I1, small I2, small I3. At this particular node, I1, the current entering will be equal to the current leaving, that is small I1, small I2, capital I2. So you are getting this equation. And at this particular node, I3 is leaving, I2 and capital I2, these two are entering. So capital I2 plus small I2 will be equal to small I3. So this is your second node equation. So when I am doing nodal analysis, what we are doing, we are just applying KCL at each of the nodes. Okay, and according to that, we are framing the equations. Aritrika, any you asked me now what is your problem?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This concept was a bit difficult for me.
Which one? Hello? Which one?
Yes, sir. This voltage across the terminal, this concept was a bit difficult for me. Now I'm getting it.
Right. So see, this is R2. So if you are taking this as V1, this you are getting V2. So your current will be higher potential minus lower potential divided, which is divided by the circuit element value. Similarly for this, if you are taking between the non-reference node, this is V1 minus 0, the higher potential minus lower potential by R1. And for this, it is higher potential minus lower potential by R3. So this is how you are getting the branch currents. And then you are equating the branch currents at any particular node by applying KCL. Okay. So this is about your nodal analysis. Any other question? Thevenin's? Yes, I will just read it.
Sir?
Yes, Priyanshu.
Sir, when to use nodal analysis and the mesh analysis in the circuits?
See, first thing is that you have to see if there are independent current sources or independent voltage sources. If there are independent current sources, you will straight away opt for nodal analysis. If there are only independent current sources, you will opt for nodal analysis. And if there are independent voltage sources, you will opt for mesh analysis. This is the first point. Second point is that you have to find out if there is a super node or is there is a super mesh. A super node means if there is a voltage source between any two nodes, then that is a super node. So if there is a super node, you have to apply the nodal analysis. Okay. And if there is a super mesh, that is you are having a mesh, there are current source between two meshes, then you have to apply mesh analysis. First 2 points. And the third point is that you have to frame the equations based on nodal analysis as well as your mesh analysis, so that you can easily get. So let's say you are having 3 meshes, but you are having 4 nodes, right? So if you are having 4 nodes, if you are considering one of the node to be the ground node or the reference node, then you are having 3 non-reference nodes. So if you are having 3 non-reference nodes, you will have 3 equations for nodal analysis. And if you are having 3 independent loops or 3 meshes, that means you are having 3 mesh equations. So in that type of problem, you can apply either mesh analysis or nodal analysis. But say you are having 4 node equations and you are having 3 mesh equations, that is you are having 5 nodes and only 3 branches, or 5 nodes and 3 meshes, then for that particular problem you opt for mesh analysis, because the number of equations to be solved will be less. So 3 conditions: if there are independent current sources, you will go for nodal analysis. If there are independent voltage sources, you will go for mesh analysis. Second point, if there is a super node, go for nodal analysis. If there is a super mesh, go for mesh analysis. And the third point is the number of equations. You have to see how many number of equations are formed from that circuit. The lesser the number of equations for a particular analysis method, you go for that analysis method. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay. Then we move on to the Norton's theorem. Parallelly, we will just make or relate it to the Thevenin's theorem as well. Okay. Then that will be easier for you to understand the duality nature. Okay. So we move on to the Norton's theorem. Okay. So why am I saying? The first thing is Norton's theorem. I am stating Norton's theorem as a dual of Thevenin's theorem. So first thing is, why do we state that? So see, we have already done source transformation. So in case of source transformation, what happened? That a voltage source having a resistance in series was converted to a current source having the resistance in parallel. Right. Now, when I am talking about duality of Norton's theorem and Thevenin's theorem, thus, if we are considering the same circuit, and if we are applying both the Norton's theorem and the Thevenin's theorem, the Thevenin's resistance and the Norton resistance will be equal. Why they will be equal? Because what is the method? The method is, first you remove the load resistance. After you remove the load resistance, for Thevenin's theorem, it was you had to calculate the open circuit voltage across the terminals of the load resistance. That was for Thevenin's theorem, that you need to calculate the open circuit voltage across the terminals of the load resistance. For Norton's theorem, the difference will be these 2 terminals will be short circuited, right? And you will be calculating the Norton's short circuit current, that is the short circuit current across the terminals AB of the load resistance. So what you are getting is IN, and this IN is nothing but the Norton's current, right? Okay. Now the second step in case of Thevenin's theorem was, you have to look back into the network from the terminals A and B. So if you are calculating the equivalent resistance of the entire circuit, leaving out the load resistance from terminals A and B, and this you have to calculate for both the Thevenin's theorem as well as the Norton's theorem.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, are you showing any diagram?
No, I am not showing any diagram.
Okay, sir.
I am not showing any diagram. I was just explaining it to you. So if you say, okay, I am just showing this diagram. Okay. So that will be of help. So let us say that the load resistor was connected between A and B. Okay. Now for Thevenin's theorem, let's say this has been open circuited. So if this has been open circuited, you see the 5 ohm and 10 ohm resistance, these two will be in parallel to each other. The parallel connection and the series connection concept. So if two resistances are connected between the same two terminals, then the resistances are in parallel. So this internal resistance or the resistance of the circuit without the load resistance, if you calculate that, this will be equal for both your Norton's theorem as well as for your Thevenin's theorem. Okay. And if you are calculating the current, that is the load current, so in case of Thevenin's theorem, your circuit, what was the equivalent circuit? The equivalent circuit for a Thevenin's theorem was the Thevenin's voltage. After that, you had the Thevenin's internal resistance and then you had the load resistance. Now, when you are talking about the Norton's theorem, you are just having the current source, the resistance in parallel to it, and then you are having the load resistance. Okay, I will just explain it to you, but just first let me talk about this Norton's theorem and then I will show you the duality nature. Okay, so what is the Norton's theorem stating? That if there is a linear bilateral network, or if there is a two terminal network, which is a linear bilateral network, and it is consisting of both your active and passive elements, so you can replace this entire circuit by an equivalent circuit of a constant current source, okay, in parallel with a resistance. So this is what the Norton's theorem is stating. So what are the two things that you need to calculate? One is the value of the constant current source, that is the short current that is developed between the terminals of the original network if it is short circuited. So the part of the circuit, okay, this is the first step of Norton's theorem. First, take out the load resistance. The first step is take out the load resistance. Second step is short circuit the terminals between which the load resistance was connected. Okay. Third step is calculate the value of this short circuit current. Okay. Now the fourth step is make all the sources inactive in the network. So if all the sources are made inactive in the network, so how do you make the sources inactive? If it's a voltage source, you short circuit it. If it's a current source, you open circuit it. You remember we made it for the superposition theorem. For current sources being inactive, you had to open circuit it, and for the voltage sources, you had to short circuit it. So what you will be doing? You will be calculating the resistance of the network between the terminals A and B, if A and B are considered to be the terminals across which the load resistance was connected, and then you have to calculate the equivalent resistance of the entire circuit, leaving out this load resistance. Okay, and that will be the parallel resistance in parallel with the constant current source. Okay, so let us say you have to obtain the Norton's equivalent circuit across the terminals AB, or with respect to the terminals AB across which a load resistor will be connected later. That has been stated to here. See, if there was a 5 ohm resistance, so this 5 ohm resistance will be connected here. So this will be the 5 ohm resistance here. Okay, and you are having a circuit having 10 volt and 5 volt, that is two voltage sources and two resistances of 5 ohm and 10 ohm given to you. So first, what we have to do, the first step, as I said, take out the load resistance and short circuit the terminals. So we have short circuited AB. Clear? We have short circuited AB. Now look at the directions of the voltage source. So for the voltage source being placed in this fashion, I1 will be flowing in the clockwise direction, while I2 will be flowing in the anti-clockwise direction, because current flows from the positive terminal to the negative terminal. Current flows from the positive terminal to the negative terminal. So your current I1 will be flowing in the clockwise direction across 5 ohm resistance, and current I2 will be flowing across the 10 ohm resistance in the anti-clockwise direction. Now both I1 and I2 will be flowing between terminals A and B in the same direction. You see, I1 is flowing in this direction. Similarly, I2 is also flowing in this direction. Okay, so what will be the short circuit current? When you have short circuited the load resistance part, what will be the short circuit current? This will be IN equals to I1 plus I2. Now what is I1? I1 is the current flowing through this 5 ohm resistance. So I1 is 10 by 5 and this I2 is 5 by 10, and you are getting the total Norton's current as 2.5 ampere. Clear up to this part? Anybody is having any questions from anybody? So we have short circuited and we have calculated the current across the terminals of the load resistance. Next, we will be turning off all the sources. Okay. This will be again open circuited. We are just calculating the resistance across terminals A and B with the load resistance removed. So we are not short circuiting now in this step. We have short circuited the terminals and we have calculated the Norton's current. Now we are leaving this A and B terminals open. We are inactivating all the other sources. Okay. So you see we had only voltage source in the problem. So if you have voltage source, if you have only voltage sources, you have to short circuit the voltage sources. So that is what we have done here. See, we have short circuited here. We have short circuited here. Okay. We have short circuited these two. So if you calculate the equivalent resistance, you see this is one branch between AB and this is another branch between AB. Okay, so what you are having? You are having two branches in parallel to each other between terminals A and B. So your 5 ohm and 10 ohm resistance will be parallel to each other. Okay, so if you calculate this resistance, 5 into 10 by 5 plus 10, this is termed as the Norton's equivalent resistance. This is the Norton's equivalent resistance. Okay. So this is clear. So when we are drawing the Norton's equivalent circuit, what did we say? We will have a constant current source with the Norton's resistance in parallel, and then we are connecting the load resistance now. So if this is terminal A and this is terminal B, so we have calculated the short circuit terminals between A and B, this one. We have calculated Rn, that is the equivalent resistance between A and B. And we will be now connecting the load resistance RL across A and B. And if you now apply the current divider rule, so this is the current divider rule. You have to apply the current divider rule. If you apply the current divider rule, you see that you are getting the current as 1 ampere. You are getting the current across the load resistance as 1 ampere. So this is the current divider rule. That is, the currents are reciprocal of the resistances. So the current across the resistance across which you are calculating the current, this will be given by the total current multiplied by the other resistance divided by the total resistance, because the currents are reciprocal to the resistances. So this is how you are getting the Norton's equivalent circuit, the Norton's current, the Thevenin's current, as well as the load current. Okay. So first tell me if there is any questions from Norton circuit. Any doubts? Norton circuit? We will go into...
So can you explain this last part?
Yes, one by one. Priyanshu is asking to explain this last part, and somebody else said something.
Yes, so why are we calculating the IL? This
IL, IL or IN.
IL.
See, we have been given the question to calculate the load current across the load resistance. That is why we are calculating this. If you are not asked to calculate the load current, then you can just leave it as the Norton's equivalent circuit. But if you are asked to calculate the load current, that means the current across RL, so we have to apply this Norton's the current divider rule. Okay. And why? How is this circuit designed? This Priyanshu was asking. So first thing, we have calculated this part. Now, when I'm giving the Norton's short circuit current, we are actually having two resistance now, because we were not showing the RL 5 ohm part. We were not showing that. We were only calculating the resistance of the entire circuit without the load resistance part, right? We were calculating the resistance of the entire circuit without the load resistance part. Now, what we are doing, we are connecting the load resistance, and we have also got all the resistance or the equivalent resistance of the circuit without the load resistance. So now you know that the current, if you are calculating the current if there are two resistances, so what is the Norton's equivalent, Norton's theorem stating that any electrical circuit can be drawn as an equivalent circuit consisting of a constant current source with a resistance in parallel connected to the load resistance. So that is why the box part of the circuit is your Norton's equivalent circuit. The box part, okay, the box in dots, that is your Norton's equivalent circuit. So you have calculated the short circuit current, that is your Norton's current, and you have calculated the resistance that will be connected in parallel to it. So if you are connecting these two, IN and RN, you leave the load resistance part. This is your Norton's equivalent part. That means the entire circuit that was given to you has been simplified to a short circuit consisting of a short circuit current and a Norton's equivalent resistance. And now next, if you have to calculate the current across the load resistance, we will be connecting the load resistor, and then this circuit comes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now first, this is for Schumann. This is, I'm just repeating what would have happened in case of Thevenin's theorem. So you saw that in case of Norton's theorem, what we did, we just short circuited the two terminals of the load resistance, right? But
Yes, sir.
but in case of Thevenin's theorem, we will keep that open. Okay, we will keep that part of the circuit as open. So if there is open circuit, there is no current is flowing through it. So what we will get there, the open circuit voltage. In case of Norton's, we are getting the short circuit current. In case of Thevenin's, we will get the open circuit voltage. So say for this problem itself, your A and B, this part of the terminal will be kept open. Okay. And next, you will be calculating the open circuit voltage and the internal resistance. So if you calculate the internal resistance, that is the resistance across the terminals A and B, with the resistance between the terminals A and B being removed, then what you will have? You will be having this particular resistance, the resistance that you got for Norton's theorem, that will be the same resistance for the Thevenin's theorem. Okay, the internal resistance without the load resistance will be same. So the Thevenin's equivalent resistance and the Norton's equivalent resistance, both of these are same. The difference is you are having the open circuit voltage there, you are having the short circuit current here. Only this is the difference. Okay, now when you are calculating the voltage, when you are calculating when you are drawing the Thevenin's equivalent circuit, you will first place the open circuit voltage source. Now this is a constant voltage source, the open circuit voltage source. With that, you will have this resistance that you have calculated without the load resistance in series, and then you will again connect the load resistance. Then by voltage divide rule, calculate the voltage across the load resistance, and or if you are asked to calculate the current, just sum up the two resistances and voltage divided by resistance is the current, because in a series circuit the current remains constant. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so what we do, so is Norton's theorem clear to everybody? We will go on to more complex problems. I think that will be more helpful to you, then you can understand it easily. Okay, so I will just show you what do I mean by the duality of these two theorems. Okay, so let us say we are just showing you. So as I said, this was your equivalent circuit for Thevenin's theorem. This is the equivalent circuit for Norton's theorem. Okay, now I will just explain it to you, the duality of the this thing. So you had this circuit. Okay, you had this circuit as the Thevenin's equivalent circuit, right? You had to just connect here the load resistance. Similarly, here you had to connect the load resistance. Okay, so this diagram is getting just worse here. So you have to calculate the load resistance here, but barring this, the rest of the circuit would look like this. Just the load resistance is being connected here, the rest of the circuit would just look like this. This is your open circuit voltage RTH, and this is your Norton's current, and RN, that is the Norton's equivalent resistance. Now we already saw that when we are calculating the Thevenin's resistance and the Norton's resistance, these two would have been equal across the terminals of the load resistance, because the rest part of the circuit remains the same way you calculate the resistance. So this RTH and this RN, this will be equal to each other. RTH and RN will be equal to each other. Okay, so you see, just carefully look at this. So if these two resistances are same, so what is this happening? This is just a source conversion. A Thevenin circuit can be easily transformed to a Norton circuit, or a Norton's equivalent circuit can be transformed to a Thevenin's equivalent circuit. What you have to do, the voltage here VTH will be equal to RNIN, or IN will be equal to VTH by RTH. This is a simple thing. So this is what I mean by the duality of Thevenin's and the Norton's theorem. These are dual theorems. The processes are different. When you are given in your examination, you have to apply that particular process which has been mentioned in the question, but the result that comes out would be same. If you calculate the load current using Thevenin's theorem, and if you calculate the load current using Norton's theorem, both these equal in value. Both these load currents will be equal in value. Why equal in value? Because the thing is, this is just a source conversion. The Thevenin's voltage is getting converted to Norton's current by IN is equals to VTH by RTH, or the Norton's current is getting converted into the Thevenin's voltage by IN multiplied by RN. So this is the duality nature of the Thevenin's and the Norton's theorem. Clear? Is this clear? So we will just show you one thing. Okay, so let us say you are having this 6-volt source, RTH as 1 kilo ohm, and this the load resistance as 2 milliampere. Okay, so if you are having this, and if you are having the load resistance as 2 kilo ohm and the load voltage as 4 volt, okay, so we will now calculate the IN RN. So what is IN and RN? So if this R load is same, and if you are calculating the load current as 2 milliampere, So what we have to calculate? The IN and RN. Okay. So how do you calculate? So we will be using the current divided equation. So you are given the load current. Your RN is known. The R load is 2 kilo ohm plus RN into IN. So if you calculate this, you see RTH is equal to RN 1 kilo ohm and IN is equal to 6 milliampere. Is this duality nature clear to you? You have to just, if you are given a Thevenin's equivalent circuit, you can just convert it into a Norton's equivalent circuit. If you are given a Thevenin's equivalent circuit, you can convert it into a Norton's equivalent circuit, or if you are given a Norton's equivalent circuit, you can convert it into a Thevenin's equivalent circuit.
Sir, can you show the circuit once?
This circuit. First, then first look at this circuit. This is your Thevenin's equivalent circuit. Okay, this was given to you. You are given VTH is equal to 6 volt, RTH is equal to 1 kilo ohm, and R load is 2 kilo ohm. So you first calculate the load current. So how do you calculate the load current? Load current is VTH divided by RTH plus R load. Okay, VTH divided by RTH plus R load. So 6 divided by 1 plus 2, and that is giving you 6 divided by 3, that is 2 milliampere. Is that clear? The load current is equal to 2 milliampere. So if this 2 milliampere is flowing through this R load, so what will be the load across the voltage? The load across the voltage will be 4 volt. Okay. Now you have to draw its equivalent Norton circuit. So what you note the load current to be 2 milliampere and you note the V load to be 4 ohm. You know these two. But what is unknown to you? You do not know IN and RN. I have said that RN and RTH must be equal, but you do not know if RN and RTH are equal. So you have 2 milliampere, you have full load voltage, you have R load which is 2 kilo ohm fixed. You have to calculate IN and RN. Okay. Now what we will do? We have said that RTH will be equal to RN, that is 1 kilo ohm. So you can calculate the I load. I load is R equivalent divided by R load into IN. So you are calculating by using this formula. Then what you are getting? RTH is equal to RN is equal to 1 kilo ohm. And if you just place these values, then you are getting IN as 6 milliampere. Is this clear? We are just putting this into the equations. We know I load by current divider rule. I load is equal to IN into RN by RL plus RN. We know that. So we are just putting the values. Now we will get the value of IN is equals to 6 milliampere. So the thing is, why we are choosing RTH is equal to RN? Why we are choosing RTH equals to RN? So let us say that your open circuit voltage was 0 volt and your current was 0 milliampere. Because we have replaced the voltage source with a short circuit and replaced the current source with an open circuit. So if you are looking towards the source, you see both the circuit will be identical in nature and therefore it will consist of the same resistance ITH. See, if you are considering 0 volt and if you are not having V load, this will be just 1 kilo ohm here. Similarly, if you look at this, if you have removed the load resistance and if you have the current is 0 milliampere, that is open circuit, you are again left with just a low resistance and therefore its resistance must be equal to 1 kilo ohm to make the identical nature of the circuit, or else this will denote two different circuits. Okay, so this is why your RN and RTH both values are equal. And this VTH and IN, you can calculate it just by source transformation technique. Clear? Is this clear? So these are just the equations for source transformation. See if this is clear to you. If anybody is having any doubts, I will just go through it once again. Any step or anything you do not understand, you can ask me. Feel free to ask, because this might be a bit confusing. This might be a bit confusing, so you can ask me if you want to. Okay. So should we move on to Norton's theorem for dependent sources? Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, then we are moving on to Norton's theorem for dependent sources. Okay. So again, there can be two cases, right? One is when the circuit is consisting of both dependent and independent source, and another case is when the circuit is consisting of only the dependent sources. So the first case is when we are considering that the circuit is consisting of both dependent and the independent sources. So what we will do, this will be same, the open circuit voltage will be determined with all the sources activated. So when there are dependent sources as well as independent sources, keep this in mind. When they are independent sources, you just calculate the short circuit current, you just calculate the Thevenin's equivalent resistance, Norton's equivalent resistance, and from that you calculate your Thevenin's or dependent source. You first have to calculate the open circuit voltage, then calculate the short circuit current, and then your Norton's resistance will be Rn equals to VOC by ISC. Do you remember for Thevenin's theorem as well, when there was independent as well as a dependent source, what we did? We calculated the open circuit current, open circuit voltage. We calculated the open circuit voltage in case of Thevenin's theorem when there was a dependent source. Clear? When there was a dependent source, we calculated the open circuit voltage. Then we short circuited the terminals, and we calculated the short circuit current. And we found out that RTH, which will be here Rn, is equal to the open circuit voltage divided by the short circuit current. So when there are dependent sources as well as independent sources, the method both become same. For both the methods, you have to first calculate the open circuit voltage, then the short circuit current, and then only you can get the value of the Norton's equivalent resistance or the Thevenin's equivalent resistance. Okay, so when there are both dependent as well as independent sources, the method becomes the same. Next, when you have Norton's theorem only for dependent sources. So when there are only dependent sources, the short circuit current will be equal to 0. The short circuit current will be equal to 0. So what we will do, we will connect a 1 ampere source in between the terminals AB. The short circuit current is equal to 0. So therefore there is no short circuit current between A and B. So what we are doing, we are just connecting a 1 ampere source between terminals A and B, and then we are calculating the voltage across BAB. We are calculating the voltage across BAB. Then the Thevenin's resistance as well as the Norton's resistance, both will be equal to VAB by 1. If you remember, or if you have gone through the last day's notes that I had sent you, you will see for the dependent sources case for Thevenin's theorem as well, we connected a 1 ampere source between the terminals A and B, and from that we calculated the voltage across the terminals, because or else your VOC was coming out to be 0, and we calculated the Thevenin's resistance as RTH equals to VAB by 1. Here as well we will calculate the Norton's resistance as VAB by 1. The short circuit current is 0. Okay, the short circuit current will be equal to 0. Therefore, we are connecting this 1 ampere source and we are calculating the VAB. This is the Norton's theorem for dependent sources. Now just let's get through into a problem. So this will be easier for you. So this was the same problem as was there in case of your Norton's theorem. If you remember, we discussed Thevenin's problem with the dependent sources. We discussed a Thevenin's problem with the dependent sources. So let us say we are having a voltage source of 10 volt. We are having the 0.49 V2 dependent voltage source. We are having a 10 ampere current source. 10 I dependent current source. And what is I? I is the current across R1. And let us say that the load resistance was connected between terminals A and B, across which the short circuit current flows. So if you are given this dependent source based any problem, what we are doing, we are first designing the equivalent circuit. Okay, so when we have made this equivalent circuit, so see, when your V2 is equal to 0, what was V2? Your V2 was your open circuit voltage. The voltage across terminals A and B is considered to be V2. This is V2. Okay, this is V2. The voltage across terminals A and B. This is V2. So when your V2 is equal to 0, that is when it's a short circuit condition, right? When a circuit has been short circuited, the voltage across the terminals will be 0. So when V2 is equal to 0, so this becomes equal to 0. Is this clear? When this becomes equal to 0, then what is I? I is Vs by R1. I is Vs by R1. So Vs is 10 volt, R1 is 10 ohms. So what is I? I is equal to 1 ampere. I is equal to 1 ampere. Okay? I is equal to 1 ampere. And when you have short circuited this 10I current will only flow through A, because there will be no current flow through this. When it's a short circuit condition, the maximum current will flow through AB. So your ISC will be equals to 10I. ISC will be equal to 10I. Okay. Now your V2 is 0. ISC is equal to 10I. And from this circuit you are getting I is equal to 1 ampere. So your ISC is equal to 10 ampere. ISC is equal to 10 ampere. You are getting this? Right. Next. So we will be calculating VTH. So how do we calculate VTH? We have to open circuit V2. Now once we open circuit V2, we are considering there is an open circuit voltage. So what is the open circuit voltage? So this will be I multiplied by R, that is 10I multiplied by 100. So 1000 I. VTH is 1000 I, or V2 is 1000 I. Put this here and you calculate I, and this is coming out to be 1.0049 V2. So you solve these equations, you already know what is the value of I from this and value of VTH. So your VTH is coming out to be 20 volt. Your ISC is coming out to be 10 ampere. So your RTH is equal to VTH by ISC is 2 ohms. Okay. So you can ask me, I can repeat this. I can repeat this.
So please repeat this.
Okay. See, first what we are
Sir,
doing.
sir, repeat it slowly, sir. You are going
Oh,
too fast.
okay. Okay. I'll
Sir,
just.
sir, can't you write and explain somewhere? It's very confusing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Then what I will do, I will just try to. Okay. Then today your class is till 10:30. So next day what I will do, I will write it in a A4 sheet and explain it to you. Will that be helpful to you? If I write in an A4 sheet
Explaining while
and
writing.
yes.
Writing and explain.
This question we couldn't get it, sir.
Okay. I will explain this to you tomorrow. You just Norton's theorem, the basic Norton's theorem. This is clear to you?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Okay, so I will explain this dependent sources case. And what I will do, I will write it in an A4 sheet. Okay, and I will show it through the camera and explain it to you. I think that will be easier for you to understand.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That will be better.
Okay, I will just explain it to you like that. Then it will be helpful to you. Okay. I will just try to do it through a camera tomorrow. Okay, do not worry. I will repeat this to you. I know this is bit confusing, and moreover, this teaching from this online is also a bit this difficult, because what we could do in the boards, we are not being able to do it here. So I will just try to do it from the circuit or from any by writing it in page anywhere. So just you do not need to worry about this. I will repeat this to you again tomorrow. Just if this Norton's theorem is clear to you, we will start off from this dependent sources tomorrow itself. We have just completed Norton's theorem tomorrow. So give your attendance. Do not worry, I will do it tomorrow once again.